Hello, and welcome to Just Around Earth, where curiosity softly settles into the tranquil evening hours and science unfolds at a pace that allows you to relax while your thoughts gently expand. Tonight, we are drifting toward a realm that holds stories older than most human narratives. It's a place where stone meets the sky, where heat flows over the desert like a slow wave, and where a single question has echoed for centuries. What if the pyramids are just the tip of something far greater, not only larger in size, but also richer in meaning, design, and the silent history that still lies hidden beneath the sand? Before we embark on this journey, let's pause for a moment. Where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it for you right now? I ask this not merely out of habit, but because it's oddly comforting to envision us scattered across the globe, each in our own late-night space, united here through a shared pathway of ideas that transcends distance. If you find this gentle exploration soothing or a good companion for winding down, I would truly appreciate it if you could tap the like button or subscribe. This cozy corner of curiosity could then reach others who might also seek the same quiet company. You don't need any prior knowledge of archaeology to appreciate where we're going. Forget about memorizing dates, dynasties, or complicated terms. All you truly need is a sense of wonder, because the pyramids evoke that feeling, even in those who usually aren't captivated by ancient history. They stand with such poise that it's easy to believe we fully understand them. There they are, their sharp angles illuminated by the sun, familiar from textbooks and documentaries. But these are just the parts above ground, the sections tourists capture in photos, perfectly set against the azure sky. Tonight, let's allow our minds to wander beneath the sunlight, beneath the limestone, and even below the very foundations. Imagine these structures as markers rather than mere monuments, as entrances rather than endpoints, the visible half of something still veiled in mystery. When most people envision the pyramids, they picture vast triangles emerging from the sand. Yes, they are enormous, but they occupy only a small fraction of the surrounding landscape. We often overlook that these monumental structures have been excavated, tunneled beneath, scanned, and mapped for over a century. Yet despite our advanced technology, much of what lies beneath them remains shrouded in uncertainty. Cavities revealed in scans sometimes defy the expectations of excavators. Pathways that were thought to be short can unexpectedly extend much further, and rooms may appear where none were anticipated. Occasionally, new discoveries prompt researchers to reconsider, as the ground beneath Giza behaves in ways that don't fully align with natural geology or straightforward architectural plans. But let's not rush into conclusions. There's a certain magic in approaching the pyramids with care, as if they are not merely structures, but rather participants in a dialogue that began thousands of years ago. Picture them at night, standing tall under a canopy of stars that countless generations have gazed upon, long before the first stone was ever quarried. This imagery invites a sense of tranquility. These monumental edifices have witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations. The languages you speak and the ideas you hold are modern compared to their ancient existence. Yet, they stand firm on bedrock that is even older. You can feel their presence, not as an overwhelming force, but as a steady comfort, like leaning against a wall that has endured for ages, barely acknowledging your touch. People often wonder what makes the pyramids so captivating. Have you ever considered why they invoke such wonder? Have you ever noticed how precise these ancient structures appear? It's almost as if they defy the limitations of the time they were built in, especially considering they have withstood the test of time while many other monumental works have crumbled away. Yet there's something deeper at play. These structures conceal secrets, not in a dramatic fashion, but in a way that only old buildings can, as they gradually merge with the landscape. Over the years, sand accumulates around them, walls weather away, and chambers settle into the earth. What you see is merely the outline, a hint of what lies beneath. The unknown has a captivating way of holding our attention, particularly during the quiet of night, when our minds are more open to pondering possibilities. Some researchers suggest that the pyramids may be just a single layer of a much larger complex, one that stretches far below the surface. Imagine not just a solitary basement or burial chamber, but an intricate network of rooms, interconnected by corridors, all meticulously carved with unexpected precision. There are even accounts from the 1800s where explorers spoke of vast underground halls, so expansive that their flickering torches barely reached the walls. While some of these tales may seem embellished, not every one of them can be easily dismissed. What might be hidden in the shadows, waiting to be discovered? As you reflect on this, consider the layers of history and mystery that beckon you to delve deeper. Imagine exploring a quiet museum just before it closes. The dim lights cast shadows along the hallways, and your footsteps echo softly, not out of fear, but from the serene stillness enveloping you. This is the atmosphere surrounding the pyramids at Giza as dusk settles in. As the temperature drops, a gentle breeze stirs the grains of sand, barely visible in the fading light. The stones, once warm under the sun, now feel cooler, almost velvety to the touch. When you contemplate what might lie beneath these ancient structures, it isn't about danger or hidden perils. It's about the immense scale of human ambition and the mysteries we have yet to uncover. The notion that the pyramids could be just the visible tip of something much larger isn't a new idea. For decades, historians, geologists, and engineers have pondered this possibility. Yet this intriguing conversation often remains on the fringes, rarely making its way into popular discourse. We tend to prefer neat narratives about ancient monuments, seeing a pyramid simply as a tomb, a monument, or a singularly designed structure with a clear purpose. As you reflect on this, consider the layers of history and mystery that surround these iconic symbols of human achievement. What other stories might they hold? It's often simpler when things have clear meanings. Yet, as you delve deeper into the Giza Plateau, you begin to realize that these structures may have been part of a much grander design. This design likely demanded not only exceptional architectural skill, but also a vision that spanned generations. The visible structures above ground might just be the tip of the iceberg, akin to a mountain whose base lies hidden beneath the waves. Take a moment to consider the bedrock itself. The surface around Giza exhibits signs of shaping, leveling, and trenching that don't correspond neatly with the construction phases of the pyramids we see today. Some marks appear to be older, suggesting that the ground was prepared for something long before the iconic structures were erected. Certain areas of the plateau appear more carved than natural, while others seem reinforced or altered, indicating that the builders were concerned not only with what would rise above the ground, but also with what lay beneath it. Ancient texts hint at underground regions connected to the pyramids, though their descriptions tend to be symbolic rather than literal guides for excavation. This raises an intriguing question. Could these symbolic narratives have originated from something real? Perhaps they stemmed from a collective memory, a knowledge that once existed and eventually morphed into myth. Before you picture vast hidden complexes, take a moment to consider that ancient civilizations often constructed downwards, as much as they did upwards. Tombs delved deep into the earth, and temples sometimes extended beneath the ground. Storage rooms, ceremonial spaces, and administrative areas were frequently located below structures rather than within them. Therefore, the notion that the pyramids might rest above extensive subterranean features isn't far-fetched. This idea aligns with patterns observed throughout the ancient world. When you utilize modern scanning technologies in this area, intriguing anomalies emerge. While not every anomaly indicates a chamber, the consistent patterns of these anomalies beneath multiple structures provoke thought. And it is these questions that spark true exploration. It starts not with assumptions or dramatic tales, but with the understanding that the surface rarely reveals the complete story. The pyramids themselves offer valuable clues, and when their size, alignment, and intricate internal passages are all remarkably intentional. So intentional, in fact, that it seems implausible the builders would leave the ground beneath them to chance. If you were designing something meant to last thousands of years, something that needed to withstand earthquakes, erosion, and shifting sands, would you focus solely on building upward, or would you ensure everything was anchored in a foundation that reached deep into the earth? Even now, as you stand at the edge of the Great Pyramid, you can feel the immense weight pressing down into the bedrock with tremendous force. This connection to the earth is not just a possibility, it's a profound reminder of the ancient architect's foresight and intention. The builders of ancient structures had a profound understanding of their environment. They meticulously prepared the ground to evenly distribute weight, and the evidence supports this. The bedrock beneath is shaped, flattened, and reinforced in ways that suggest intentionality beyond mere stability. Some reinforcement patterns hint at access points, indicating a purpose beyond just support. Picture yourself walking along the desert floor near Giza. The landscape appears barren, dotted with stones, dust, and remnants of modern excavation tools. Yet, beneath your feet lies a hidden world, rooms and chambers that remain largely unexplored. These aren't just sensational discoveries, they reflect practical architectural decisions made for reasons we have yet to fully grasp. Imagine hallways leading to other spaces, areas so deep that modern scans can only suggest their existence. These cavities are not mere accidents or natural formations. They are deliberate carvings in the bedrock, created long before we began to ponder their significance. This doesn't point to secret societies or advanced technologies from distant galaxies. Instead, it reveals that the ancient world was often more complex than we might think. The builders engaged with the earth as much as they constructed above it. As you reflect on this, consider the layers of history beneath our feet. What stories might they tell? Imagine a landscape thoughtfully shaped by ancient hands, where stone, sand, and natural features intertwine harmoniously. The pyramids stand precisely where they do for a reason, and beneath them lies a ground that has been meticulously crafted, perhaps tied to a system we have yet to fully comprehend. Visualize this scene quietly. Picture a group of ancient planners, thousands of years ago, gathering on the plateau, deliberating over where to carve channels, level surfaces, and create spaces that would one day be sealed or transformed. They might have envisioned more than mere structures. They could have imagined a landscape where stone architecture and the Earth's geology meld into a cohesive design. What remains today is the upper layer of that vision, a resilient portion that has withstood the passage of time and the forces of erosion. Here we stand, millennia later, still seeking to grasp the knowledge they once held. We continue to decode the messages imprinted in the ground, pondering whether the pyramids we see represent the entirety of their story or merely the surface of a vast narrative that lies hidden beneath the desert, waiting to be uncovered. As you envision the desert that surrounds the pyramids, consider not just an empty expanse, but a serene open space where the air hangs still and the horizon stretches endlessly. The desert surrounding Giza is not merely a backdrop, it plays an integral role in the overall design. Whether intentionally crafted by the builders or naturally aligning with their vision, the land enhances the grandeur of the pyramids. As you begin to notice how the terrain frames these monumental structures, something intriguing occurs. The pyramids seem to grow in presence, feeling larger than their actual dimensions suggest. This perception isn't dramatic or exaggerated. Rather, it is a subtle amplification, as if the environment itself elevates their scale without your conscious awareness. When you stand in proximity to the Great Pyramid, its magnitude is unmistakable. The massive stone blocks tower above you, each one so robust that you instinctively grasp why they have stood the test of time. Yet, as you step back, the pyramid does not diminish like other distant buildings might. It retains its form and clarity. The desert cooperates in a manner that prevents your eye from downplaying what you observe. Even when you are hundreds of meters away, the pyramid remains immediate and present, a rare quality among man-made structures. Some researchers suggest that this phenomenon relates to the way the pyramid's geometry interacts with the uneven landscape of Giza. The desert is not entirely flat. Instead, it has its own unique contours that contribute to this captivating experience. Imagine a landscape of gentle slopes, raised ridges, and subtle curves, where slight depressions create a soft undulation. Yet, amidst this complexity, the pyramids emerge with striking clarity. Their clean lines stand in sharp contrast to the muted surroundings, becoming a focal point for your mind. As your attention settles on these monumental structures, everything else, the sand, the sky, the ridges, begins to fade into the background. The desert doesn't compete with the pyramids. Instead, it serves as a frame that enhances their grandeur. Even in photographs, this captivating effect is evident. You might browse through images captured from various angles, illuminated by different lighting, yet the pyramids maintain an unwavering presence. They never diminish in size, nor do they feel engulfed by the landscape surrounding them. Their geometry asserts itself with a quiet strength, not loud or ostentatious, but resolute and steady. The triangular planes converge at precise angles, etching themselves into your awareness, even as your thoughts drift. What adds to this intrigue is the realization that the ancient builders did not solely depend on the pyramid's shape to create this impression. They meticulously shaped the terrain itself. Archaeologists have uncovered carved ledges, leveled surfaces, and artificially flattened expanses that extend far beyond the visible base of the pyramids. This thoughtful manipulation of the landscape amplifies their majesty, inviting you to reflect on the skill and vision of those who created them. These areas are more than mere construction sites. They seem deliberately designed to create a stable visual plane around the structures. When you stand close to them, the effect may not be immediately apparent, but from a distance, it becomes strikingly clear. The land acts like a pedestal, a broad, subtle platform that allows the pyramids to command the landscape even before you reach them. Consider their orientation. The pyramids align with remarkable precision to the cardinal directions, perfectly north, perfectly east, perfectly south, and perfectly west. This alignment is not merely symbolic, it enhances the geometric beauty of the structures, as you view them from various angles. No matter where you stand, their symmetry remains unbroken. It's nearly impossible to find a perspective where the pyramids appear misaligned. Whether you approach from the east or the west, or from the north or the south, their balance holds firm. This is quite unusual for ancient structures, which often excel from specific viewpoints. The pyramids, however, succeed from all angles, bending the landscape to their will rather than the other way around. When you bring together all these elements, geometry, orientation, the sculpted terrain, and the surrounding slopes, you start to grasp why the pyramids feel larger than their actual size. In the vast expanse of the desert, your mind encounters a unique challenge. Without the usual visual cues that help you gauge distance or size, the landscape becomes stripped of distractions. There are no trees, no buildings, and no bustling skyline to frame the structures in a familiar way. Here, the pyramids stand as the only prominent vertical features for miles, which can trick your perception, making them appear overwhelmingly massive. This intriguing phenomenon is similar to how mountains seem larger when they rise in isolation rather than as part of a range. The absence of surrounding elements magnifies their scale. Visitors to the pyramids often express surprise, noting that the structures appear larger the farther they step back. This observation defies conventional expectations. The explanation is twofold, involving both perception and the geometry of angles. When you stand too close, the slope of the pyramid face obscures your view of its full shape. However, as you take a step back, the silhouette becomes clearer. There comes a moment when it feels as if the pyramid is growing as you retreat, your mind finally gathering enough information to grasp its complete form. Once you notice this, it becomes impossible to overlook. The desert plays a crucial role, offering the space necessary for the architecture to reveal its true geometry. This captivating interaction between the landscape and the structures suggests something even deeper, inviting you to reflect on the relationship between perception and reality. Imagine the pyramids standing tall, their presence reaching far beyond the stones that form them. They occupy a space in the landscape that extends across the plateau, stretching toward the horizon and blending into the quiet of the desert. But their influence isn't limited to what you see. Research suggests that the layout of these ancient marvels is intricately linked to the geological features hidden beneath the sands. Subtle ridges in the bedrock align with the pyramid's placements, while ancient trenches carved into the plateau correspond to underground layers. It seems as though the builders chose these locations with great care, selecting spots where the earth beneath could support something much grander. Some studies indicate that the plateau's natural rock formations create a kind of skeletal structure beneath the desert. Imagine a system of stronger limestone ribs encased in softer layers. These ribs may have guided the positioning of the pyramids, providing a robust foundation capable of supporting their immense weight. Additionally, the softer layers of rock are easier to excavate, while the harder layers offer excellent support. This unique geological combination would have been nearly ideal for anyone looking to construct chambers or corridors beneath these monumental structures. Isn't it fascinating to consider how nature and human ingenuity intertwined in such a remarkable way? Imagine a place where the earth seems ready for vast subterranean structures. Consider how the pyramids engage with the environment above ground. It sparks curiosity to think about the same interaction occurring below. The geometry of the surface stretches into the desert air. But what if a mirrored complexity extends downward into the bedrock? Not identical shapes, but a system harmonized with natural features. The pyramid could be the visible peak of a grand design, anchored deep beneath, a design that utilizes the desert's natural geometry just as effectively as it does the sky. There's something intriguing about how the pyramids cast shadows. Throughout the day, the angles shift gradually, tracing predictable lines across the sand. These shadows do more than mark time. They influence how the structures are perceived. In the early morning and late afternoon, when the sun hangs lower in the sky, the pyramids appear taller. Their silhouettes stretch, their outlines sharpen. If you've ever seen photographs taken during these moments, you might notice they seem like entirely different buildings. This transformation adds another dimension to the impression that the pyramids are much larger than they appear. Take a moment to reflect on this. It invites a deeper exploration of the mysteries that lie beneath the surface, and perhaps a pause to appreciate the beauty of these ancient wonders. You're not just observing static objects, you're witnessing how they interact with light, enhancing their presence. While modern architects often design buildings to manipulate light and shadow, the ancient Egyptians mastered this art thousands of years ago on a scale that's still hard to replicate. The pyramid's simple shape conceals an extraordinary control over how the structure appears in varying light conditions. This consistency across light, distance, and terrain contributes to their immense feel. Even in hazy air or under a harsh sun, they maintain their form, balance, and presence. Now picture the same builders who crafted this visual marvel above ground, also carving into the earth below. They exhibited the same precision and understanding of spatial dynamics, along with a keen awareness of where the strongest bedrock lies. If their aim was to create something stable and enduring, it makes sense that they would extend their design downward. The portion that rises above the sand is merely what the world can see, while the functional or ceremonial spaces could lie beneath, safely shielded from erosion, wind, and the elements. Imagine a concept that might not seem so far-fetched. Throughout history, many ancient structures possess vast underground elements. What sets Giza apart is its immense scale. As researchers delve deeper into the plateau, they uncover evidence suggesting that the desert itself might play a role in this architectural marvel. Some corridors beneath the surface appear to follow the natural contours of the rock, while others traverse areas where the stone can be easily shaped. If these pathways were crafted with intention, it indicates that the builders had an intricate understanding of the desert's subtle geometry, just as they understood the geometry of the pyramids. They collaborated with the landscape, creating a sense of harmony that allows these structures to feel as though they truly belong in their setting. This feeling of belonging contributes to why the pyramids seem larger than life. They don't merely sit upon the land, they emerge from it, as if the desert itself had designed to cradle something of that form. When you step back to take in the entire landscape, the effect intensifies. The pyramids don't just occupy space in the desert, they shape it. The sand surrounding them feels as if it is part of their essence, intertwined in a lasting connection. The emptiness around the pyramids becomes part of their very essence. This might explain why the idea of something grand, hidden beneath them, captivates our imagination. The visible structures interact so seamlessly with the surrounding space that it's easy to believe the same harmony exists below the surface. Rather than isolated monuments, these pyramids feel like the peaks of a vast system extending in all directions, upward into the sky, outward across the desert, and perhaps even downward into the earth. Many people envision the pyramids as mere stone triangles, but their true impact resembles an invisible field spreading across the desert floor. This field is not born from mysticism or mere speculation. It emerges from geometry, engineering, and the interplay of landscape and light. When you start to view the pyramids from this angle, the idea that the visible stones represent just one layer of a much larger system no longer seems far-fetched. Instead, it aligns perfectly with the way these structures already interact with their environment. The quiet geometry of the desert doesn't complicate the pyramids, it enhances their presence. Once you grasp how this relationship operates above ground, it becomes easier to envision that the same meticulous design might lie beneath the surface, patiently waiting within the bedrock for us to uncover its significance. When you gaze upon the pyramids, your instinct is to look up. Their towering structure naturally draws your eyes toward the apex, inviting thoughts of height and grandeur. Yet, as you take a moment to reflect on these remarkable monuments, you might discover that the direction we often overlook holds the most intriguing mysteries. Instead of looking above, consider what lies beneath. The ground supporting the pyramids has endured for thousands of years, yet it remains largely hidden from view. This hidden realm is a quiet frontier, one that doesn't demand wild theories or speculation, just a willingness to explore where we usually don't. To truly understand what lies beneath the pyramids, it's essential to recognize that the Giza Plateau's bedrock isn't merely a flat slab of stone. It's a complex, layered foundation, with some areas rising in natural ridges, while others dip into softer pockets, shaped by ancient water flows. This ground is not uniform. It has texture, history, and unique patterns that tell a story. Ancient builders possessed remarkable skills in interpreting these landscapes, and those patterns they recognized were crucial to their craft. As you ponder these hidden depths, consider what secrets they might still hold. The placement of the pyramids on this particular plateau was a deliberate choice, not a mere guess. The ground here possesses unique qualities that are ideal for long-term stability and large-scale carving. When you think about a foundation, you might envision the straightforward concrete base of a modern building. However, the foundation of the pyramids tells a different story. The builders skillfully carved steps into the natural rock, creating terraces that effectively distribute the immense weight of these structures. In fact, some sections of the pyramids rest directly on shaped bedrock rather than on man-made blocks. This indicates that the ground was not merely a support system, it was an integral part of the design from the very start. The stone beneath was not an obstacle, but a vital component of the plan. Imagine workers chiseling into the limestone thousands of years ago. You might picture them crafting simple, flat surfaces. Yet what archaeologists have uncovered reveals a far more intricate process. They found cuttings that extend well beyond the pyramid's footprints, trenches forming rectangular outlines, and depressions that echo the shapes of the structures above, but in reverse. These features do not appear to be random. They suggest the early stages of a much grander vision. It seems the builders were not only preparing for what would rise above the surface, but also for what could be shaped beneath it. Over time, the intricate carvings of the ancient structures became concealed beneath layers of sand and debris. Some of these features were buried intentionally, while others gradually sank into the landscape as centuries unfolded. However, when modern excavations began to reveal them, researchers discovered a fascinating pattern. These carvings were not random. They aligned with specific corridors within the pyramids, matched up with shafts, and traced geological seams in the bedrock. In certain areas, they even suggested the presence of unexplored cavities. It's essential to refrain from envisioning these underground spaces as grand caverns or vast halls aglow with mysterious lights. The truth is often much quieter. Many of the areas beneath the pyramids may be small, narrow, or filled with rubble. Yet size is not the primary focus here. The purpose behind these spaces is what truly matters. Even a tiny chamber, if intentionally placed, can convey a rich narrative. What makes the story beneath the pyramids particularly intriguing is that several ancient accounts from early Greek and Roman writers mention underground features associated with the Giza Plateau. Although many of these writings were steeped in myth or interpreted symbolically, the notion of something existing below the surface was not uncommon in the ancient world. This invites you to reflect on the mysteries that still lie beneath our feet, waiting to be uncovered. People have long anticipated discoveries beneath the pyramids, and modern technology has stepped in to explore these assumptions. Techniques such as ground-penetrating radar, seismic mapping, microgravity surveys, and thermal imaging have all been utilized in this quest. The outcomes are fascinating, revealing anomalies hidden beneath the ancient structures. Some of these anomalies are small voids, while others take the form of elongated shapes resembling tunnels. A few appear to be larger cavities, which do not align with any known chambers. Rather than serving as definitive proof of vast hidden complexes, these findings act as markers, signals from the bedrock indicating that there's more below the surface than just solid layers of stone. However, interpreting these anomalies presents a challenge. The ground beneath Giza is not easy to survey with complete accuracy. The limestone layers vary in density. Some absorb signals, while others scatter them, leading to potentially misleading readings. Yet, when multiple scanning methods converge on the same general shape or location, it becomes increasingly difficult to dismiss these findings. Over the years, surveys have consistently suggested that the plateau conceals cavities of various sizes. Some are shallow, others deep, with some located near known structures, and others so distant that their purpose remains a mystery. This ongoing exploration invites you to ponder what lies beneath and the secrets waiting to be uncovered. Beneath the plateau, excavations have uncovered intriguing mysteries. You might notice tunnels with walls that appear unnaturally straight, suggesting they were not formed by natural processes. There are also shafts cut with precise lines, and small chambers whose entrances are now concealed, buried, or simply forgotten over time. Early explorers in the 19th century documented some of these features long before modern archaeology emerged. Their journals tell of vast underground spaces that felt unexpectedly expansive or remarkably clean. While some accounts may have been exaggerated, many hint at something genuinely curious. These explorers consistently discovered access points beneath the plateau that are no longer in use. This raises an intriguing question. Why were these underground spaces constructed in the first place? Perhaps some served as storage rooms, while others might have been test cuts for quarrying. It's possible that some spaces were linked to burial practices or rituals that remain a mystery to us today. Yet there's also a chance that these features were part of a grand architectural design. As you reflect on these possibilities, consider how they connect to the broader narrative of this ancient site. The secrets hidden beneath Giza invite you to explore further. Would you like to delve deeper into this enigma, or take a moment to rest and ponder? Picture yourself standing at the base of the Great Pyramid. Beneath your feet lies not just solid rock, but a complex network of carved surfaces and hidden structures. Some of these features might have been crafted long before the first stone of the pyramid was laid, while others were added later, part of a grand design that unfolded over generations. This perspective doesn't rely on theories of lost civilizations or extraordinary technologies. Instead, it invites you to recognize the ancient Egyptians as skilled planners who often constructed their monumental works in phases that spanned decades, even centuries. As you ponder this, the concept of a multi-layered design starts to feel entirely plausible. The builders would have needed access to the foundations throughout the construction process. They likely created working chambers, storage areas, and pathways that connected various elements of the site. Once the upper structure was finished, many of these underground spaces might have been sealed off, repurposed, or simply forgotten. Over thousands of years, the relentless forces of sand, sediment, and shifting earth would have concealed these remnants of a remarkable past. Isn't it fascinating to think about the stories hidden just beneath the surface? What remains is a fascinating blend of visible elements and hidden remnants that don't always align with the polished narratives we often hear. The ground beneath the pyramids acts like a forgotten archive, not filled with scrolls or artifacts, but rich in architectural choices. Each cut in the bedrock tells a story about how the builders approached their monumental task. Every filled shaft reflects a decision made, while each buried chamber signifies a moment in the construction process that has faded from view, as we typically focus only on what stands above. One particularly intriguing aspect beneath the plateau is a collection of natural cavities that appear to have been expanded or reshaped. These formations predate human presence, created by ancient water activity during a time when the area was much wetter. Water can carve limestone in unpredictable ways, sometimes resulting in rounded chambers or narrow channels. Some researchers suggest that the builders may have utilized these natural cavities as starting points. Rather than excavating entirely new areas, they likely expanded, adjusted, and reinforced what nature had already formed. This blend of natural and artificial shaping is a hallmark of ancient architecture, revealing a deeper connection between human ingenuity and the environment. Imagine a landscape where efficiency meets adaptation, a place as significant as Giza. Here, the relationship between the builders and the land unfolds, revealing layers of history. Beneath this remarkable site lie vertical shafts, some documented and others only hinted at in older reports. These shafts often evoke a sense of mystery, but their true purpose is much more practical. Instead of dramatic descents into hidden chambers, these ancient structures served essential functions. They provided ventilation during construction, facilitated the lowering of materials into enclosed spaces, and offered access points for necessary adjustments and reinforcements. If the plateau holds numerous shafts, it implies a well-organized strategy for constructing and maintaining underground features. Yet, the depth of many shafts remains a mystery. Some are blocked by debris, preventing complete measurements. Early explorers, eager to uncover secrets, often paused their descent upon reaching unstable sections. Today, modern teams approach excavation with caution, aware that digging too deeply into ancient ground could compromise surrounding structures. This raises a fascinating question. How far do these shafts extend beyond our current understanding? As you reflect on this, consider the hidden stories that may still lie beneath the surface. Imagine for a moment the ground beneath the pyramids. As you delve deeper into this vision, layers begin to unfold, not in a dramatic way, but through a gentle revelation of structure. You can perceive layers of carved stone, natural cavities, and centuries of sediment settled in place. Each layer represents a phase of construction, a forgotten space waiting to be rediscovered. This quiet complexity reflects the precision visible above ground, yet it carries a more subdued essence. When your gaze shifts downward, the site transforms. It no longer appears as a simple triangle rising from the sand. Instead, it reveals a profound structure that occupies space both above and below the surface. This vertical depth tells a story of intention. The builders, dedicating immense effort to shape the ground, were not acting by chance. They were preparing for something significant, something that demands precision and stability, perhaps extending beyond what is immediately visible. Standing on the plateau, you find that these thoughts do not overwhelm you. Instead, they bring a sense of steadiness. The desert around you is quiet, inviting you to explore further or simply to rest in this moment of reflection. The wind flows gently, while the stones have found their resting places after countless years of enduring heat and cold. Beneath everything lies the bedrock, steadfast and holding its secrets without haste. When you envision these hidden realms, they don't evoke drama. Instead, they exude patience, seamlessly blending with the natural layers of the earth. Here, a shift in perspective begins, not towards speculation or fantasy, but towards a simple recognition that the pyramids may extend beyond what is visible. The ground beneath them could contain parts of the architecture yet to be uncovered, not hidden away intentionally, but often overlooked because our gaze has always been directed upward. As we start to look downward, we discover more details, and with each detail, more questions emerge. When you think of the people who constructed the pyramids, it's easy to picture workers diligently shaping blocks and hauling stones beneath the sun. Yet, behind that familiar image lies an intricate network of planners, designers, and engineers who toiled long before the first stone was ever lifted. The more we uncover about ancient construction techniques, the clearer it becomes that these monumental structures were not born from mere guesswork or brute strength. So, as you reflect on this, consider what other secrets the earth may still hold. Would you like to continue exploring this fascinating history, or take a moment to pause and absorb it all? The pyramids stand as a testament to meticulous planning, crafted from detailed blueprints that suggest a complexity beyond their visible form. When you shift your perspective from seeing them as mere stone structures to viewing them through the eyes of engineers, these monuments transform into parts of a grander design. One remarkable aspect of the pyramids is the consistency in their layout. Every angle is intentional, each base alignment is precise, and the internal passages follow exact orientations. Even the slightest deviations were meticulously corrected during construction. The builders didn't merely stack stones, they measured, recalculated, and adjusted as needed. Take the Great Pyramid, for instance. A closer look reveals that the builders altered their approach at least once during its construction. They added chambers, modified passageways, and refined the orientation of various features. This isn't a sign of confusion. It reflects a high level of expertise and adaptive planning, showcasing real-time engineering skills. As you delve deeper into these choices, you begin to see that the builders possessed a grasp of geometry that is comparable to modern techniques, not merely in theoretical equations, but in practical application. Consider how this understanding continues to resonate through time, inviting you to explore further. Imagine a time when ancient builders possessed a remarkable ability to measure angles with incredible precision. They could find true north without the help of compasses, and they understood how weight would distribute across massive stone structures. They also grasped the importance of shaping the ground beneath them to support the immense loads they were creating. And this knowledge speaks to something deeper than mere experience. It reveals a level of coordinated planning that is truly fascinating. As you delve further into this, consider the arrangement of the pyramids themselves. They are not haphazardly placed across the plateau. Rather, they follow a distinct pattern. Their bases align with specific geological lines, and their positions seem to respond to the natural contours of the bedrock. From an aerial view, the placement of these monumental structures appears almost deliberate, harmonizing with the landscape around them. The builders didn't just stop at shaping stones, they manipulated the bedrock in ways that suggest a grand design, one that extended far beyond what could be seen. Modern engineers understand that constructing large buildings requires meticulous surveys. It's essential to assess the strength of the ground, the angles of the bedrock, and the potential risks posed by natural cavities. As you reflect on this, consider the scale and ambition of these ancient architects. Their knowledge and foresight might inspire you to ponder the depths of human ingenuity. Would you like to explore this fascinating topic further, or perhaps take a moment to rest? Ancient Egyptian builders seem to have approached their monumental tasks with incredible foresight. They utilized the natural layers of limestone found in the plateau, integrating these elements into their support systems. By carefully selecting areas with solid ground, they ensured stability and avoided regions where softer layers could compromise their work. In fact, in certain locations, they even reinforced weaker spots with filling stones or by reshaping the surface to enhance strength. Imagine an ancient engineering team standing on the plateau thousands of years ago, meticulously planning the construction of the pyramids. This perspective allows you to see that these structures might not be mere isolated objects. Rather, they could be parts of a grand architectural blueprint. This blueprint encompasses not just the stones in the ground, but also the air surrounding the structures, and perhaps even the unseen layers beneath. The builders must have considered all these factors to create monuments that would stand the test of time. Their meticulous planning suggests something profound. These structures may have been designed to endure beyond their creators, and even entire civilizations. When you examine the stones closely, you notice another intriguing detail. Many of the blocks used in the pyramids are remarkably uniform in size and were cut with surprising precision. The consistency in the materials used by the builders allowed them to create foundational layers that evenly distributed weight. This hints at a form of prefabrication, suggesting that workers weren't merely cutting random blocks in hopes they would fit. Instead, they shaped each piece with precision, fully aware of how it would be integrated into the structure. This dimensional uniformity indicates standardized measurements, a crucial element for large-scale construction. This brings to mind an intriguing question. If the builders utilized standard measurements for the visible structures, did they also apply the same principles to the underground components? Were the shafts, chambers, and trenches carved into the bedrock constructed using the same units? Some researchers believe they were. Certain underground features closely match the dimensions of those above ground, making coincidence seem unlikely. If the architects indeed employed shared units above and below the surface, then the underground areas were not mere afterthoughts. They were integral to the overall design. Ancient engineering transcended the mere use of stone. It was about comprehending the forces at play. The builders of the pyramids possessed an extraordinary understanding of how weight is distributed through solid materials. The internal chambers of the Great Pyramid are safeguarded by massive granite beams arranged in layers, expertly redirecting the weight of millions of tons of limestone. As you reflect on these insights, consider how this remarkable knowledge shaped the structures we admire today. Would you like to explore more about the marvels of ancient engineering? Imagine for a moment the immense skill required to construct monumental structures like the Great Pyramid. If those beams had been even slightly misplaced, the chambers would have crumbled long ago. The fact that they remain standing today speaks volumes about the extraordinary precision involved in their creation. Consider the builders of these ancient wonders. They operated without the modern tools and technologies we take for granted. There were no computers to model the entire structure or to correct errors. Instead, they relied on careful measurement, keen observation, geometry, and the wisdom passed down through generations. They understood the behavior of stone under pressure and anticipated how their creations would evolve over decades, centuries, and even millennia. This foresight is a rarity in ancient architecture. While many cultures constructed buildings for immediate use, the Egyptians built with eternity in mind. The meticulous planning didn't end with the Great Pyramid. The Khafra and Menar pyramids exhibit the same level of precision. Their alignments are harmonious, their orientations match, and their internal angles are consistent. This remarkable uniformity hints at shared principles of planning and engineering, suggesting that these builders operated from a collective mental and practical framework that transcended generations. What does this say about the legacy they left behind? It invites you to reflect on the enduring impact of their craftsmanship and vision. Imagine a landscape where every element is intentionally placed, where the very ground beneath your feet tells a story of careful design. The frameworks that guided the construction of these monumental structures shaped not only their foundations, but also the hidden spaces beneath. What's particularly intriguing is that some of these underground features do not directly correspond to the final structures above. They seem older, deeper, or take on different forms, hinting that some of these elements may have existed before the visible pyramids were completed, or represent unfinished stages of construction. Could it be that certain underground components were intended for purposes now lost to time? Perhaps they served roles in water storage, resource management, construction, logistics, or even ceremonial practices. The truth is, we don't fully know. Yet, one thing is clear: the ground was not molded by chance. It was shaped according to a plan, one that remains elusive to us. Among the more captivating clues are the trenches etched into the plateau. Some of these trenches mimic the shapes of the pyramids themselves, as if they were laid out to outline the space for structures before they rose. Others create long, straight lines that might have served as alignment guides. Some lead to entrances of underground corridors that have since been filled or hidden away. These features reveal that the builders viewed the plateau not as an empty canvas, but as a carefully curated landscape, rich with purpose and intention. As you reflect on this, consider what other secrets the ground may still hold, waiting to be uncovered. Imagine a vast working surface, a grid meticulously laid out in stone. Consider the sheer scale of this endeavor. It involved hundreds of thousands of stones, with workers coordinated over many years, transporting resources from great distances. All of this unfolded under the guidance of planners who had to foresee outcomes with astonishing precision. The blueprint for the pyramids transcended mere architecture. It encompassed logistics, social structures, economics, and culture. Such a level of organization hints at a purpose far grander than any single aim. When you reflect on this perspective, the notion that the pyramids represent merely the upper portion of a more extensive system transforms from mere speculation into a logical extension of an engineering mindset. Another intriguing aspect to ponder is the connection between the pyramids and the Nile. This river served not only as a vital water source, but also as a crucial transportation route, enabling the movement of stone from quarries located many kilometers away. Moreover, the orientation of the pyramids seems to have been influenced by the river itself. While the builders aligned these monumental structures with celestial directions, They also strategically position them in relation to the river's flow. This harmonious blend of land and sky markers suggests a dual blueprint, intertwining architecture with both the earth and the heavens. This duality is evident in many ancient Egyptian concepts, above and below, seen and unseen, surface and depth. If the pyramids embody this duality, then it stands to reason that the ground beneath them holds just as much significance as the stones we see. Ancient engineers often constructed downwards to mirror the structures above. Tombs descended beneath temples, and storage chambers extended below workshops. Trenches guided the flow of water and resources. It seems the plateau may follow this same pattern, with buried features reflecting the organization of the structures above. Early surveyors noted signs of large underground halls near the pyramids. They described smooth walls, square corners, and unexpectedly spacious areas. Later excavations have confirmed some of these features, though many remain sealed or unexplored. The consistency in their construction suggests that they were not random or improvised. They were planned. More importantly, these features appear to follow a blueprint that extends horizontally across the plateau rather than vertically beneath a single structure. This implies that the engineering plan may have involved connecting multiple underground spaces into a network beneath the entire complex. When you piece together all of these clues, the careful alignment, the carved bedrock, the consistent measurements, the underground anomalies, the trench patterns, and the geological adaptations, you begin to glimpse the outline of something profound. It's not a dramatic secret or a hidden civilization. Rather, it is a grounded blueprint, drawn not on paper, but in stone. This blueprint uses the natural landscape as part of its design, integrating both the visible and the unseen. Once you acknowledge that a grand blueprint likely existed, the next question becomes truly intriguing. If ancient engineers were orchestrating such a vast project, what exactly were they envisioning? What purpose guided the interplay between above-ground monuments and underground features? What were they hoping to accomplish? What did they require the plateau to do that the structures alone could not fulfill? When you think of the inside of a pyramid, you might envision a few narrow corridors and a couple of chambers surrounded by solid stone. This is the simplified image most of us learn early on. A pyramid is typically seen as a massive solid form with only a few carefully crafted interior spaces. In theory, these elements are meant to be predictable: a descending passage, an ascending passage, a central chamber or two, a ventilation shaft, and a few small niches with little else. Official descriptions of the pyramids often lean on this uncomplicated model. However, as researchers began to delve deeper, sometimes quite literally, they uncovered details that challenged this straightforward view. They discovered rooms that were not supposed to exist, and tunnels extending far beyond what was anticipated. This revelation invites you to ponder the complexities and mysteries hidden within these ancient structures. Imagine standing before the majestic pyramids, marveling at their ancient grandeur. As you explore, you might notice features carved into the bedrock that don't quite align with any known phase of construction. These elements invite curiosity and contemplation. While they may not suggest supernatural mysteries, they reveal a complexity that standard diagrams often overlook. If you've ever worked on older buildings, you understand that blueprints don't always match reality. Renovations and structural adjustments can alter original designs. The intentions of past builders often leave traces that later generations choose to conceal, repurpose, or abandon. The pyramids, built on an immense scale by countless workers over generations, are rich with such unexpected features. And Some of these elements appear too intentional to be mere remnants of construction or random natural formations. They hint at a purpose that remains partly hidden from our view. The first intriguing space was discovered during early explorations of the Great Pyramid. As researchers descended into the lower chamber, they found a rough, unfinished room carved deep into the bedrock. What secrets might this space hold? As you ponder this question, consider how these ancient structures continue to inspire wonder and reflection. The walls of this chamber are not as smooth as you might expect from a finished space. The ceiling is uneven, and the floor features peculiar recesses and channels. Initially, it seemed that this area had been abandoned during construction. However, as more research was conducted, this theory began to unravel. The walls, though rough, show signs of intention. The recesses appear carefully crafted, with some channels running straight while others angle off, none aligning neatly with the upper chambers. This isn't an isolated case. Above the king's chamber lie several smaller areas called relieving chambers. For centuries, their existence remained a mystery, hidden behind sealed walls. They were believed to relieve pressure on the chamber below, a reasonable explanation that likely holds some truth. Yet the presence of these hidden chambers leads to intriguing questions. If they were simply structural, why were they designed with such precision? Why seal them so thoroughly? And what motivated the builders to ensure their dimensions were so uniform? As investigations progressed, even more curious discoveries emerged. In the 19th century, explorers unearthed tunnels branching off from known corridors. What secrets might they hold? Imagine wandering through tunnels that seem to lead nowhere, abruptly ending in solid stone. Some of these passages are so precisely carved that they almost feel unnatural, while others are cluttered with rubble that raises questions about their purpose. You might find some tunnels so narrow that they seem designed merely for measurement, alignment, or temporary access during early construction phases. Yet intriguingly, their locations don't always match the final design of the pyramid. This suggests that at least some of these tunnels were part of earlier planning stages, perhaps reflecting ideas or layouts that were later modified or set aside. When modern scanning technologies were applied to the pyramids, an even greater mystery emerged. Above the Grand Gallery in the Great Pyramid, researchers detected a large cavity. This isn't just a small void, it's a significant space, long and tall, which had remained unknown until recently. Strikingly, this space doesn't appear in any construction records and doesn't correspond to any known chamber. Its purpose remains a puzzle. Some researchers propose that it could serve as a relieving space, similar to the chambers above the king's chamber. Others speculate that it might be a remnant of an earlier internal layout. What do you think this could mean for our understanding of the pyramids? The more we explore, the more questions arise. Would you like to delve deeper into this fascinating mystery? Some believe these secrets may have been purposefully concealed. Yet, what truly matters is that they exist, adding depth to our understanding of the pyramids far beyond what simple models can convey. This notion extends to the Khafra pyramid as well. Scans reveal unexpected density changes beneath its surface. These variations hint at the presence of cavities or tunnels, though their exact shapes remain elusive. Some might simply be natural pockets in the limestone, while others could be unfinished carved spaces. However, a few exhibit patterns of straight lines or right angles, which are more challenging to attribute to nature alone. In geology, straight lines often suggest human intervention. When such lines appear beneath a meticulously designed structure like a pyramid, they become particularly intriguing. Historical accounts tell of explorers discovering underground passages near the Sphinx, extending further than anticipated. Some describe long corridors leading deep beneath the plateau, while others mention rooms intricately carved into the bedrock. A few reports even indicate that certain entrances were sealed long before modern archaeologists set foot there. While many of these descriptions emerged from an era of inconsistent documentation, not all can be verified. However, some have been substantiated through controlled excavations. As you reflect on these mysteries, consider what might still lie hidden beneath the surface. Would you like to continue exploring these ancient wonders, or take a moment to rest? The confirmations we encounter may not definitively reveal vast networks, yet they do indicate the presence of more underground features than early maps suggested. One particularly intriguing example is a deep shaft located near the Great Pyramid, lined with meticulously cut stone walls. This shaft descends vertically before branching out horizontally. Initially, it was filled with debris, but subsequent excavations uncovered parts of it, revealing smooth surfaces that indicate careful construction. However, the purpose of this shaft remains a mystery. It does not align with known burial practices and does not seem to serve as a simple ventilation route. Its considerable depth implies a level of effort that likely required a specific reason. Whether that reason was practical, ceremonial, or logistical continues to spark debate. Another puzzling feature lies beneath the Menorah pyramid. Early surveys suggested the existence of a chamber beneath the surface, and later studies confirmed this, unveiling unusual stonework inside. The walls were cut in a manner that deviates from typical burial chamber designs. The ceiling exhibits an unconventional shape, while the floor contains carved recesses that appear to be placeholders for something, yet no artifacts or inscriptions provide clarity on the chamber's purpose. Isn't it fascinating how much remains unknown? As we ponder these mysteries, let your curiosity guide you further into the depths of history. It exists, carefully shaped and strikingly empty. This emptiness often holds more intrigue than a room brimming with objects. It invites you to ponder, why create such a space? Why leave it untouched? Why conceal it completely for centuries? These unexpected rooms, unexplained tunnels, and uncharted cavities do not imply the fantastical. Rather, they hint at complexity. They suggest layers of construction that developed over time, reflecting the builder's responses to geological conditions and construction challenges, along with intentions that may have gone unrecorded. As builders engage in projects that span decades, or even generations, their designs evolve, their priorities shift, and their methods become more refined. Sometimes they begin carving a passage, only to realize later that it is no longer necessary. At other times, they create chambers for purposes that later generations struggle to comprehend. The pyramids, for instance, were not the result of a single moment of inspiration. They emerged through extensive processes, leaving behind traces that tell their story. What makes these traces so captivating is the sense of deliberation behind them. A room carved with precision speaks of intentional design, not mere improvisation. A tunnel cut with straight lines suggests purpose, not coincidence. As you reflect on these intricacies, consider the layers of meaning waiting to be uncovered. Would you like to explore further, or perhaps take a moment to rest? Imagine a chamber sealed so tightly that even modern technology struggles to detect it. This suggests a desire for permanence rather than mere convenience. When you notice similar features across various pyramids, a fascinating pattern begins to unfold. It is not a tale of hidden secrets, but rather one of intricate design. Picture the ancient builders, perhaps working from a blueprint that included elements both above and below ground. Yet, such a grand blueprint would not have remained static. It likely evolved over time. Some elements may have been adjusted, others abandoned, while some were repurposed, and a few completed, even if their final purpose was not entirely clear by the end of construction. This phenomenon isn't unique to ancient times. It mirrors what happens in many large modern projects. Buildings often include spaces that go unused, tunnels lead to forgotten areas, and rooms can become sealed off. In the context of ancient structures, where documentation was scarce and oral traditions faded, these unused or repurposed features transform into intriguing mysteries. This is where the allure of the pyramids truly lies. It isn't about secret chambers hiding unimaginable treasures, but rather the understanding that the builders were engaged in something far more profound than simply erecting monuments. As you reflect on this, what thoughts come to mind about the builders and their intentions? As you explore the landscape, think about how the ground beneath you has been shaped over time. Ancient builders meticulously marked the bedrock, creating spaces that follow intricate patterns, many of which remain a mystery to us. These hidden areas, now buried under centuries of dust and sand, reveal a story of ambition that stretches both downward and upward. When you walk across the plateau today, the surface seems solid and unchanging, yet beneath your feet lies a complex environment. Some layers are natural, while others have been crafted by human hands. Some spaces have been filled, while others remain voids, waiting to be discovered. Each layer adds depth to the idea that the visible structures are merely one aspect of a much larger whole. Consider the rooms that were never meant to exist, the tunnels that extend beyond what we can see, and the unexplored cavities revealed by scans. These elements hint at a quieter, less polished version of the pyramids, one that is shaped not only by grand designs, but also by practical needs and evolving plans. The hands of workers, guided by architects whose intentions we may never fully grasp, created this hidden world. Reflecting on these concealed spaces doesn't diminish the purpose of the pyramids. Instead, it enriches it. It serves as a reminder that ancient engineering was rarely straightforward. It was a process of adaptation, trial, and refinement, showcasing the ingenuity of those who came before us. As you ponder this, allow yourself to appreciate the layers of history that lie just beneath the surface. Would you like to continue this journey of discovery, or perhaps take a moment to reflect? As you contemplate the Giza Plateau, consider how it encompasses both the visible and the unseen. When people discuss this iconic site, their focus often rests on what soars above. The pyramids, illuminated by the soft glow of morning light, casting long shadows as the day fades. These majestic structures seem to stretch skyward, silently vying with the horizon. Yet, if you shift your gaze downward, a more intricate picture emerges. The plateau is not merely a flat expanse of limestone waiting to bear the weight of these wonders. It is a complex landscape filled with pockets, ridges, and faults, interspersed with open spaces. These hidden areas have quietly influenced the myriad theories and questions surrounding Giza, not because they hint at something dramatic, but because they reveal that the earth beneath our feet is far more intricate than a mere foundation. The geological narrative of this region stretches back millions of years, long before humanity set foot here. Once, this now arid landscape was submerged beneath water. Over eons, layers of sediment accumulated, some solidifying into robust limestone, while others formed softer pockets, shaped by the ancient flow of water. This history invites you to reflect on the depth and complexity of the world beneath the surface. Imagine a landscape shaped by natural processes, revealing subtle variations beneath its surface. In some areas, the limestone appears uniform, while in others, it hides fish fossils or cavities created by the movement of groundwater. As the land rose and dried, these cavities remained, each one unique, some small, others larger, and a few interconnected. They form a remarkable natural architecture beneath the plateau, existing long before the notion of a pyramid ever took shape in anyone's mind. As you walk across the plateau, consider this hidden history. Picture the ground beneath your feet as a series of layers, some solid, some hollow, some smooth, and some fractured. Yet none of this is visible at first glance. The sand conceals it, and the rock hides it. Still, the presence of these natural cavities is unmistakable. They are an integral part of the region's geological profile, prompting a fundamental question. When ancient builders began to shape this plateau, how much of this natural structure did they encounter? How much did they incorporate into their designs? How much did they modify or expand? Archaeologists have discovered that some of these natural cavities were indeed altered. Walls were smoothed, ceilings trimmed, and entrances widened. In other instances, workers carved entirely new spaces in areas where the rock was soft enough to allow for such changes. This interplay between nature and human creativity invites you to reflect on the intricate relationship that has shaped this landscape over time. Imagine a world where ancient builders harmonized with the natural landscape, using its contours to guide their creations. They sought out locations where nature offered its own blueprint. If a natural hollow existed, they would embrace it as a foundation. Conversely, they would steer clear of areas where the bedrock was fragile. Now consider the site of Giza. Here, these choices take on a greater significance. Natural caves and chambers weave into the very fabric of architecture, sometimes without intention. Notably, beneath the plateau lies a substantial natural cavity, located close to the Great Pyramid. Early explorers shared stories of entering a space that felt remarkably expansive compared to the surrounding ground. Their accounts diverge. Some speak of a chamber with soaring ceilings, while others mention intricate passageways. The challenge lies in verifying these early observations. However, subsequent investigations have uncovered voids in the vicinity. While it remains uncertain if these correspond to the explorers' descriptions, the existence of these large underground spaces implies that the plateau was not completely solid at the time construction began. Scattered throughout the area are also smaller cavities, some revealed through seismic surveys and others through microgravity mapping. What might these hidden spaces tell us about the ancient world? As you reflect on this, consider the stories waiting to unfold beneath the surface. Some areas have been explored, while many remain untouched. The challenge lies in accessing these hidden spaces without causing damage to the surface. Excavating beneath a pyramid is a serious endeavor. A single mistake could compromise the entire structure. As a result, numerous cavities stay unexamined, preserved simply because the risks of accessing them are too significant. These unexplored areas naturally pique curiosity. You might wonder what secrets they hold. Do these cavities connect to the known chambers within the pyramids? Were they intentionally created by the ancient builders? With so many unknowns, theories begin to arise. Some are modest, while others are more ambitious, but they all stem from a fundamental question. If there are natural cavities beneath the plateau, what did the builders know about them? The ancient Egyptians were adept at reading their landscapes. They understood how to identify stable ground and were knowledgeable about how rock responds to weight. It's reasonable to think they encountered some of these cavities during construction. They may have reinforced the surrounding rock or filled some with stone. Perhaps they even linked others to their own carved spaces. Imagine a team of builders faced with the challenge of constructing monumental structures. If they discovered a cavity extending further than anticipated, it would certainly influence how they shaped the land above. Such builders would meticulously assess the terrain, ensuring their designs were adapted to any hidden complexities. As you picture this process, envision ancient workers entering these natural cavities with flickering torches. They would carefully examine the rock, determining what needed to be carved or filled. This scene feels familiar, rooted in practical necessity. Yet, as centuries passed, those cavities might have slipped from memory. Sand could have filled the entrances, and shifts in the earth could have sealed these passages. Later generations may have lost access to them, leaving no written record of their existence. As the pyramids captured cultural attention, the world above ground overshadowed what lay beneath. This is where whispered theories emerge, not born from fantasy, but from a desire to reconcile geological reality with archaeological findings. Beneath Giza, the ground holds natural cavities and carved spaces waiting to be rediscovered. Imagine a landscape filled with hidden chambers and unexplored voids. When a site is rich with features that remain elusive, it naturally sparks curiosity. Some theories suggest that ancient builders selected this plateau for its unique geology. The natural cavities may have been seen as opportunities to create intricate underground spaces without the need for extensive carving. Others believe these cavities played a role in ritual practices or held symbolic significance. It's also possible that they were used to manage groundwater during construction. These ideas are grounded in practicality rather than extraordinary claims, as builders often adapt natural elements to meet their needs. Consider, too, that this plateau has a long history, spanning thousands of years. Different eras brought various modifications. Some chambers beneath the surface may date back to earlier settlements, while others could have been added long after the pyramids were erected. When researchers delve into the depths of the plateau, they occasionally uncover features that don't align with the styles or techniques of the Old Kingdom. This indicates that the underground landscape has been shaped not only by the original pyramid builders, but also by countless generations that followed. As you reflect on this intricate history, what thoughts come to mind? Imagine a landscape where each trace left behind weaves a complex tapestry of history beneath the sand. This intricate layering invites curiosity, especially when unexpected features emerge in spots that don't align with our current understanding of construction timelines. For instance, some tunnels hidden beneath the plateau seem designed to connect various sections of the complex. Yet, their entrances remain sealed, and their paths are incomplete. Are these remnants of earlier designs, or were they abandoned midway? Without complete access, the truth eludes us. Then, there are the theories that push the boundaries of possibility. Some suggest vast underground complexes or ancient archives tucked away deep below the surface. Others speculate on networks that stretch far beyond the plateau's limits. These concepts often stem not from concrete evidence, but from the absence of information. When technology reveals a void, yet fails to identify what lies within, our minds fill in the gaps with imagination. Although many of these possibilities remain unverified, the voids themselves are undeniably present, and the uncertainty surrounding them ignites quiet speculation. In reality, The underground landscape of Giza is likely a blend of natural caves, ancient construction shafts, unfinished passages, and chambers created for purposes long forgotten. As you contemplate this hidden world, what stories might it hold? Beneath the surface, a complex pattern of features exists, one that researchers are diligently working to understand. The more they explore, the clearer it becomes that the plateau is anything but uniform. In recent years, microgravity surveys have revealed that multiple cavities beneath the plateau are interconnected. These connections may not form a continuous tunnel system, but they create a geological network shaped by the erosion of softer limestone layers. Some of these cavities are located so close to carved spaces that distinguishing between what is natural and what is artificial can be quite challenging. When scans detect an anomaly, researchers must determine whether it indicates a chamber, a fault, or perhaps a mix of both. This ambiguity is a key reason why theories about the plateau continue to evolve. It's not that these theories are necessary, rather, the evidence remains incomplete. The plateau conceals parts of its structure. Sand fills the spaces that tools cannot reach, while rock absorbs signals that might otherwise provide clarity. Moreover, the pyramids themselves restrict how deeply researchers can probe the ground beneath them. Imagine standing on the plateau at night. As the temperature drops and a gentle wind sweeps across the sand, the ground beneath you feels solid. Yet, beneath the surface, there may be empty spaces, some known, some unknown, some ancient, and some formed by chance. You may not see them or hear them, yet you can certainly imagine them. It's not dramatic. Rather, it's a quiet, steady contemplation. Beneath Giza, the earth holds layers of history, each compacted into stone. Some layers are geological, others architectural, while some exist only as hints and shadows revealed by scanning equipment. This brings you to the essence of the topic. The theories gently whisper, not to shock, but because the plateau invites questions to linger. It leaves space for your imagination to ponder how the builders interacted with the landscape. It allows researchers to recognize that they are still uncovering how the underground environment influences the structures above. When you stand anywhere on the Giza Plateau and gaze toward the pyramids, a clear realization strikes you. Their placement is not random. Their angles are not haphazard. The way they relate to one another feels intentional, a truth that becomes increasingly apparent the longer you observe. As you delve deeper into the layout of the pyramids, they transform from isolated structures into a cohesive alignment. This alignment hints at a connection that goes beyond the stars and cardinal directions, something that is rooted in the land itself, something profoundly deeper. Have you ever marveled at the remarkable alignment of the pyramids? The Great Pyramid's sides are nearly perfectly oriented with true north, a feat that continues to astound engineers even today. Achieving such precision is a challenge, even with today's advanced tools. Yet the builders of the pyramids accomplished this through careful observations of the sky, meticulous measurements of shadows, and a remarkable level of patience that is hard to fathom. They were not merely constructing a tomb. Instead, they were positioning a structure with such precision that its angles would remain true for millennia. This alignment was no accident, and it extends beyond just the Great Pyramid. The other grand pyramids at Giza share this directional harmony. Their sides align with the same cardinal directions, and their angles maintain consistent geometric relationships. When viewed from above, the three pyramids create a rhythmic layout that reflects a blend of engineering, astronomy, and an intricate understanding of how structures relate to the landscape around them. However, the connection to astronomy is just one facet of this fascinating story. Many discussions often stop there, emphasizing how the builders used the stars to determine true north, or how certain shafts align with specific celestial bodies. Isn't it intriguing to consider what other layers of meaning and knowledge lie within these ancient structures? As you delve into the fascinating world of ancient Egyptian architecture, you might find yourself captivated by the intricate connections between the sky and the earth. While many details suggest that builders focused solely on what was above, a deeper look reveals a profound relationship with their environment. Temples were not just aligned with celestial markers, they were also intricately linked to geographic features. Consider how structures were oriented according to the path of the Nile, the sun's rising, and the relationships among nearby settlements. The pyramids, too, follow this remarkable pattern. Their alignment is not merely a celestial affair, it is deeply rooted in the natural world. Picture yourself standing on the plateau before any construction begins. The land has its own rhythm, with gentle slopes in some areas and sharp inclines in others. The bedrock rises and falls, creating ridges that run in predictable lines. These natural features existed long before human hands began to shape the ground, and some of these ridges run parallel to the pyramid's orientation. Ancient builders would have been acutely aware of these lines. They mapped the contours of the land with the same care they applied to the stars above. When you start to map both the celestial and the terrestrial, a fascinating pattern emerges. The orientation that aligns the pyramids with true north also coincides with the strongest, most stable lines in the underlying bedrock. This connection between the heavens and the earth invites you to reflect on the wisdom of those who built these incredible structures. As you explore further, consider how these insights might deepen your understanding of the ancient world. Building monumental structures involves more than just achieving vertical balance. It requires a deep understanding of horizontal stability as well. Imagine if the builders had misaligned the pyramids with the natural contours of the plateau. The very ground beneath them might have shifted under their immense weight. However, by aligning these grand structures with both the cardinal directions and the geological features hidden below the surface, they crafted a harmonious system. The layout mirrors the expanse of the sky, while the stability reflects the earth itself. This meticulous alignment allows the pyramids to stand as they do, immovable, balanced, and enduring. Consider the relationship between the pyramids. If they had been constructed as isolated projects without a unified vision, their positioning would likely differ. Yet their layout reveals a sense of coordination. The spacing between them adheres to geometric proportions that repeat when measured in various ways. This can be seen not only in the horizontal distances between their bases, but also in the vertical angles formed by their slopes. Even their heights seem to be interrelated through proportional relationships. When you delve into these proportions, they appear to be part of a grander design rather than mere isolated choices. As you reflect on this, you might ask yourself, what deeper connections might lie beneath the surface of these ancient wonders? Researchers exploring ancient surveying techniques propose that the builders might have utilized a grid system established long before any construction began. This grid could have guided the positioning of the pyramids, the direction of the causeways, the alignment of temples, and even the shaping of the surrounding land. If such a grid truly existed, it would indicate a level of pre-construction planning that is quite rare in ancient architecture. While this concept remains a topic of debate, there is a compelling piece of evidence that supports it. Many structures on the plateau seem to align not only with celestial markers, but also with one another. Take, for instance, the causeway of the Khafra pyramid. It aligns at specific angles with both its pyramid and the Sphinx. The Sphinx, in turn, is oriented to greet the sunrise during particular times of the year. The valley temples align with the causeways, and the satellite pyramids maintain consistent spacing patterns relative to the main pyramids. When you visualize all these alignments on a single map, the image becomes dense with lines, shapes, and intersections. Yet, these lines do not intersect randomly. They create a discernible pattern, a silent diagram that spans the plateau. Some interpret this pattern purely as aesthetic or symbolic, while others see deeper meanings waiting to be uncovered. It's worth considering a more practical perspective. A thoughtful layout could enhance the stability of the entire complex, enabling builders to effectively distribute weight, shape the terrain, and manage construction on a grand scale. Ancient engineers recognized that large structures necessitate careful planning. When multiple monumental constructions are involved, that planning becomes even more critical. This leads us to a question that often lingers in discussions about alignment. If the pyramids are so meticulously aligned above ground, could it be that this alignment extends beneath the surface as well? Are there underground features positioned according to the same geometric principles as the structures we see above? Though we cannot say for certain, much of the underground layout remains uncharted. The features that have been documented display a remarkable consistency. Tunnels beneath the plateau often extend in straight lines, and chambers align with the centers of the pyramids. Vertical shafts connect to specific locations that correspond with the structural grid of the upper levels. When scans uncover new voids, their positions sometimes align with known structures. While not perfectly, they are close enough to prompt further inquiry. Isn't it fascinating to ponder the depths of what lies beneath? Imagine the underground spaces meticulously carved with intention rather than at random. This deliberate alignment suggests that the visible pyramids might share a deeper connection with those hidden beneath the surface. The builders of these grand structures seem to prioritize redundancy. They constructed multiple chambers above the king's chamber, distributing weight in a thoughtful manner. They incorporated structural elements that remain unseen to anyone exploring the pyramid. They even created shafts that are not easily accessible. This reflects a mindset dedicated to long-term stability and an appreciation for hidden infrastructure. Consider the relieving chambers, for instance. Their presence indicates that the builders possessed a profound understanding of how forces interact with stone. They designed spaces above the main chamber, not for storage, but to influence how weight is transmitted downward. If they were willing to craft hidden chambers above the primary chamber for structural integrity, it stands to reason that they might have also constructed concealed chambers below for the same purpose. The alignment of the upper features could very well dictate the arrangement of the lower ones, forming a cohesive system of structural management. As you reflect on this, you might wonder about the ingenuity and foresight of these ancient builders. Their work invites you to explore further, to delve deeper into the mysteries they left behind. Would you like to continue this journey of discovery, or take a moment to pause and contemplate? Some researchers have observed that the internal passages of the pyramids align almost perfectly along a central axis that extends deep into the bedrock. This central axis might serve as a spine, supporting both the visible structure and any underground elements. If such a spine exists, the alignment of the pyramids transforms from being merely aesthetic or symbolic to a structural necessity. This alignment could integrate the architecture with the geology, ensuring stability for millennia. This integration invites a fascinating possibility. If the builders utilized alignment to stabilize the visible structures, They may have also applied this principle to underground spaces. This doesn't suggest a vast hidden world beneath the plateau, but rather a sense of continuity, a consistent engineering philosophy that spans both above and below the surface. This philosophy perceives alignment as a tool for shaping the landscape to meet architectural goals. As you envision the landscape in this manner, the concept of alignment evolves. It shifts from merely pointing toward the stars to also anchoring the structures firmly in the earth. While the pyramids may reach toward the sky, they also find their grounding deep below. The alignment of these structures creates a foundation that stabilizes everything around them. It shapes how the site evolves over time, how sand accumulates, and how the bedrock reacts under pressure. When you examine this system closely, it becomes clear that the pyramids are part of a larger, interconnected framework rather than isolated entities. Yet, there are still aspects of this alignment that remain puzzling. Some features align perfectly, while others seem out of place. Some corridors take unexpected turns, some shafts come to abrupt ends, and some causeways stray off course by a few degrees. These discrepancies can be frustrating if you attempt to fit every detail into a single narrative. However, they often reflect the realities of construction. Builders frequently adapt their plans as challenges arise, responding to the conditions of the bedrock and revising their ideas based on new insights. Large projects seldom adhere to a flawless blueprint, even if they appear meticulously planned from afar. The essential understanding is to view alignment not as a rigid structure, but as a guiding principle. This principle shapes the visible layout, influences what lies beneath the surface, and unites the entire complex through shared angles, ratios, and orientations. Take a moment to reflect on this interconnectedness. Perhaps it invites you to consider how these ancient wonders resonate with the world around you today. Would you like to continue exploring this intricate tapestry, or is it time to pause and let these thoughts settle? This type of planning doesn't rely on modern technology. It calls for patience, keen observation, and a wealth of knowledge passed down through generations. These qualities were precisely what the ancient Egyptian builders possessed. For centuries, people have gazed at the pyramids, wondering about the mysteries that lie beneath them. Long before advanced scanners and precise measurements came into play, the earliest tales of Giza already hinted at hidden passages, secret chambers, and expansive underground realms. These narratives didn't emerge from thin air. They were attempts to interpret the landscape, shaped by the information available at the time and influenced by cultural beliefs regarding what such monumental structures might conceal. Over time, these stories evolved, intertwining with the pyramids and enduring even as the civilizations that created them faded into history. What's truly fascinating is not whether these tales are factual, but rather how consistently they point downward. The ancient Egyptians rarely documented the inner workings of their sacred sites openly. Much of their knowledge was kept within the circles of priests, scribes, and builders. This silence allowed room for legends to flourish around the pyramids, inviting curiosity and reflection. As you ponder these ancient stories, consider how they continue to shape our understanding of these magnificent structures. The earliest legends shared by Greek visitors portray the pyramids as almost living entities, brimming with sealed corridors, hidden rooms, and carefully guarded pathways. These accounts often highlight the belief that the pyramids held profound knowledge, stored in concealed places deep beneath the ground. While Greek historians wove a tapestry of imagination into their narratives, they also faithfully recorded the words of Egyptian guides. These guides frequently hinted at underground features, even if they did not elaborate on them. One of the earliest accounts comes from Herodotus. He wrote about the builders of the pyramids creating intricate underground chambers linked to the Nile. According to his writings, a canal flowed beneath the Great Pyramid, connecting its interior to the river. Though most modern scholars may question the accuracy of this claim, what remains significant is that ancient Egyptians, or at least those guiding Herodotus, believed in or spoke of subterranean architecture. The notion of rooms hidden beneath the pyramids was not a later fabrication. It was a belief that existed even in ancient times. Subsequent writers expanded on these ideas, describing labyrinthine structures beneath the plateau, further fueling the intrigue surrounding these monumental creations. Imagine a world where ancient chambers lie beneath the earth, filled with scrolls, tools, and treasures, each one a testament to the knowledge meant to endure through calamities. Some accounts suggest these underground spaces were deliberately sealed, safeguarding their contents from floods, invaders, or the relentless passage of time. While these descriptions may be embellished, they consistently point to the existence of carved spaces hidden beneath the surface. Even if the tales have evolved over time, their roots likely stem from something genuine. Observations of shafts, depressions, and hidden entrances hint at a deeper realm beneath the pyramids. Stories from the medieval era add another intriguing layer. Travelers from the Middle East spoke of secret doors concealed within the bedrock, while some claimed that tunnels stretched for miles beneath the plateau. Others told of chambers protected by mechanical devices or cunning traps. These narratives reflect the imagination of their time, weaving together spiritual beliefs and architectural speculation. Yet, amid the embellishments, one detail remains steadfast. There is a belief that the pyramids are merely the surface of a grander mystery. It's easy to dismiss these tales as mere fantasy, but consider this: myths often emerge from grains of truth, even when they drift into the realm of fiction. Take a moment to ponder what lies beneath the surface. Would you like to explore further, or take a moment to reflect? Imagine encountering signs of hidden spaces, blocked entrances, dark shafts, or unnatural depressions in the ground. It's only natural to seek explanations for these mysteries. In a time when written records were scarce, myths became the vessels for sharing knowledge across generations. Legends often bloom around inspiring locations or monumental structures, as people instinctively fill the void of the unknown with their own narratives. The greater the mystery, the more elaborate the story becomes. Take the pyramids, for instance. They occupy a unique space, straddling the line between what is visible and what remains concealed. The tales surrounding them endure not just for their drama, but because they resonate with the feelings stirred within us when we gaze upon these magnificent structures. They seem unfinished, as if what we perceive is merely the beginning of a larger narrative. Some ancient legends delve even deeper, suggesting that the pyramids were erected to safeguard knowledge from disasters, floods, fires, or other catastrophic events. While this idea may not align perfectly with historical facts, it reflects a simpler truth. Ancient cultures often believed that vital knowledge deserved a resilient home, one that could withstand the test of time. As you ponder these ideas, consider what hidden stories might still linger in the shadows of these ancient wonders. Would you like to explore further, or perhaps take a moment to reflect? What could be more enduring than a pyramid? Imagine witnessing workers coming and going from underground spaces during construction. You might understand why people believe these areas contained significant knowledge or served protective purposes. Consider the tales surrounding the Sphinx. Numerous legends speak of tunnels beneath it, stories of doorways hidden in its surface, chambers beneath its form, and passages leading toward the pyramids. Early adventurers sought these features, some claiming to discover small cavities or blocked entrances. As archaeological research progressed, it became clear that there are indeed natural and carved spaces surrounding the Sphinx. While not grand halls, these features align with the essence of the legends, enough to keep the stories alive. They hint that perhaps the myths, though embellished, were rooted in some reality. As the centuries unfolded, these tales spread far beyond Egypt. Medieval scholars in Europe wrote about underground libraries, while Renaissance thinkers speculated about hidden chambers filled with ancient wisdom. Even today, modern researchers, influenced by the imaginative echoes of history, ponder whether underground spaces might reveal remnants of earlier construction phases or forgotten storage areas left by those who came before. Isn't it intriguing to think about what lies beneath the surface? Modern science approaches these ideas with caution, recognizing that the underground landscape at Giza remains largely unexplored. Myths endure for thousands of years, not because they face no challenges, but because new discoveries often resonate with their narratives. When a hidden cavity is uncovered beneath a pyramid, it may not validate the myth, yet it highlights the reasons behind its creation. The detection of unexpected voids through scanning technology suggests that the plateau could harbor secrets simply waiting to be revealed. What makes this topic so intriguing is how closely these myths align with human nature. People often turn to stories to make sense of uncertainty. When a location features visible elements that hint at hidden ones, myths emerge to bridge those gaps. The pyramids, with their precise structures above ground and enigmas below, create a tapestry of connections between the two realms. In this way, myths serve as maps, not in a literal sense, but as imaginative pathways that help us navigate the unseen landscape. Before the advent of archaeology, these stories provided frameworks for contemplating the unknown, acting as an early form of theorizing. As you ponder these ideas, consider how the stories we tell shape our understanding of the world around us. Would you like to explore more about the mysteries of Giza, or perhaps take a moment to reflect on the power of myth in your own life? People often seek to understand rather than deceive. They observe entrances carved into the bedrock and speculate about their significance. They encounter blocked tunnels and let their imaginations wander to what might lie beyond. They notice alignments between structures and ponder whether these connections extend underground. In this way, myths evolve from mere inventions into reflections shaped by keen observation. There is also a symbolic aspect to these narratives. The ancient Egyptians frequently employed symbolic language to describe their sacred sites. When they referred to something being beneath the earth, they didn't always intend a literal meaning. Often, they were alluding to realms associated with the afterlife or the divine. Over time, such symbolic expressions can be misconstrued as literal truths, especially by cultures outside their origin. A tale of hidden knowledge beneath the earth can transform into a legend about physical chambers under the pyramids after passing through many generations. This intertwining of literal and symbolic language contributes to the layers within myths, allowing them to convey multiple meanings simultaneously. When you reflect on these elements, the natural landscapes, the carved features, the unexplored spaces, the enduring myths, and the occasional discoveries that resonate with these stories, you begin to see a rich tapestry of understanding. Legends are not merely stories. They reflect a deep-rooted instinct that fuels our modern quest for understanding. This instinct compels us to explore what lies beneath the surface. Consider the Great Pyramid, Its immense structure suggests that there might be more beneath it than we can currently fathom. As technology advances, our ability to scan and understand these monumental sites improves. Yet intriguingly, the myths surrounding them do not simply vanish. Instead, they evolve. New voids discovered beneath the surface lead to fresh inquiries, while unexpected anomalies ignite vibrant discussion.